Religious aspects of the afterlife. So far, the various ideas I have put forward are not exclusive. They can apply even if some other ideas also apply. They may even all be true. This is certainly not the case with the religious ideas of an afterlife. In many cases, only one can be true. If it is right, the others are all wrong. This is not so in some cases, though. Take the example of reincarnation versus heaven. Generally speaking, in the West, people believe that they will go to heaven, or hope to, whilst in the East they believe they will come back to earth as another person. It sounds definitely one thing or the other, but there is no logical reason why both should not be possible. A person could have many lives on earth and then go to heaven, or could be in heaven and then come back to earth. The people in biblical times seem to have believed both possible, for when Jesus asked his followers who they thought he was, they replied with the names of various long-dead prophets. Similarly, after the crucifixion, when Jesus appeared to his followers, he reassured them that he was really alive and not a ghost, implying that his was a physical resurrection, but that a spiritual one was also possible and believed in. A misconception about the afterlife is that God must somehow be closely connected with it, and this is not always the case. Whatever the truth about this mystery, it is in reality a real and quite definite process. It is just our present ignorance which makes it a mystery. No amount of theology, doctrine, or wishful thinking is in fact going to alter anything about it. We can only hope that our particular beliefs are in fact true, and that we will be participants in the afterlife. The next question to consider is, where does the afterlife take place? Or, to put it another way, where is heaven? I will try to look at all the possibilities I have come across. There may, of course, be others. Earth. There are two possibilities of this. The first being that in reincarnation a person is born again on earth in a new body. The second takes place during the end times, in which the dead rise up from the grave to be judged. Of this I will say nothing further, since we will not know for certain until and if the time comes. Up there. In ancient times it was believed, and with good reason, that the earth was surrounded by a series of spheres, known as the heavens, which rotated around the earth, which was itself stationary. I say it with good reason, because for a person with no scientific knowledge of astronomy, that is how it appears. The sun had its own sphere, as did the stars, and one of the spheres was what we now call heaven. As our scientific knowledge has increased over the centuries, we began to see that the earth was not the centre of the universe, but a rather insignificant planet at the outer edge of just one galaxy among millions. Mankind has been into space and not found heaven, but as we go deeper and deeper into outer space, there is always the possibility it may be the next planet, the next star, or the next galaxy. Another dimension, or similar idea. Basically, the idea is that the dead do not go anywhere. They are just still here with us, and it is just that we cannot see them. This is popularly known as the spirit world, and it is not as far-fetched as it may seem. As you are quietly reading this, you are being constantly bombarded by radio and television waves, Wi-Fi from computers, and subatomic particles from outer space. All this you are unaware of and unable to detect it without the proper equipment. Why should it be any different in the afterlife? We simply do not, as yet, have the necessary equipment. The mind. Our mind, or the mind of God. With this one, we can take a range of positions. At one end of the scale, we can say it is all in the mind, meaning it is simply imaginary, or that it is a psychological process. At the other end of the scale, we can still say it is all in the mind, meaning all in the mind of God. In this case, known as panentheism, the living and the dead, together with this universe and all other possible universes, are all simply the thoughts of God, the divine mind or the cosmic mind. Of course, there are many possibilities between these two extremes, such as Jung's collective unconscious, or the collective memory, in which we become a part, whether collectively or as individuals we do not know. This is an area in which genuine, open-minded scientific research may well provide an answer. The next question to consider is how much of us survives into the afterlife, if anything. Traditionally, this was the soul, which upon death somehow floated up to heaven. It never seemed clear what exactly the soul was, though, some rather vague entity, which is us. So in more modern times, what can we expect to survive? In the case of reincarnation, it is our consciousness, but in a new body and without our memories of previous lives. There are cases of people remembering previous lives, sometimes under hypnosis, but great care must be taken in distinguishing between the genuine and people who are merely delusional. Animals are as much a part of reincarnation as we are, and people may come back as animals and vice versa, depending on the karma they have built up during their lifetimes. With the traditional physical resurrection, which takes place at the end times, we come back just as we are now, but in new bodies, and with our full memories of our present lives. The sad part of this is that our beloved pets do not return with us, but there would be animals which would be born in the normal way. With the spiritual resurrection and the various mind theories of the afterlife, there is a considerable amount of speculation and a lot of evidence, but unfortunately much of it is contradictory. Take the example of near-death experiences, in which a person dies and is brought back to life by the medical staff a few minutes later. Sometimes these people describe passing through a tunnel and seeing a bright light and arriving in heaven. The problem is that although the experience is quite real, the descriptions of heaven tend to be different for each person. This is in a way quite logical, because one person's heaven would be another person's hell, and Jesus talks of, "In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you." From this it would seem to suggest, but not conclusively, that the experience of being in heaven would be rather like a dream, unique to each person. We all dream, of course, and know the experience that however strange the dream, we still think it is reality until we actually wake up. This is also quite compatible with the view that both the physical and the spiritual are all within the mind of God. And the good news? Our pets would be with us, as they are quite able to dream as we do. I sometimes watch our dogs when they are asleep, and their paws will twitch and they will give a low bark when having a dream. It is a shame they are unable to tell us what they are dreaming of.